Welcome to the inaugural edition of Why We Play, the video game podcast of why we figure out why people have made gaming part of their lives throughout their whole life. And this is part of the Fandom Foundry Network. And if you would be interested in telling me your gaming story, let me know. We're on across all socials. We'll tell you more about that at the end of the show. But I am welcoming back a guest from my days at Seek Friends Unite. Came on for co-op mode, and that is CJ Chris Johnston. Oh my goodness, product manager Enhance. If you played any awesome VR games, Chris was probably having a hand in it, including Lumines Arise, Humanity, Tetris Effect, Connected, Rez Infinite, Bodysuit Optional, I believe. And then Player One podcast, producer and host, been going on for a long time. And for you folks who used to read magazines, EGM news editor extraordinaire back in the day. Chris,
True.
CJ, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Todd. Great to be here. Great to talk with you. And I love hearing gaming stories. And it's great to share mine with other folks too. I already know I'll be subscribing to this podcast. So anybody listening, just hit that subscribe right now. You're going to want to hear this whole run. Yes.
I was tempted to do this live streaming, but you know what? I felt I might get distracted and not pay a whole attention to you as the guest. So I decided maybe next time we'll see how it goes, but I'm very excited.
There you go.
And CJ, I just have to publicly apologize. You messaged me last night and you said, "Hey, are we podcasting?" I said, "Oh no." And I did not look at my calendar. My wife even asked me, "Are you podcasting?" I'm like, no. Pulled up my calendar. There it was. I looked at our conversation. Yep, I did say that date. So my humblest apologies.
No problem at all.
And
things
I
change.
appreciate you.
Life is busy for everybody these days, right? Like what is time anymore anyway? Like
it's so different now. I started a job in September. I'm working on our pet food area, which is amazing. And then my son's back at school. So yeah, and this month has just been crazy. Too much Halloween stuff, too much stuff going on. But it's my favorite time of the year. So enough about me. So CJ, this podcast is all finding out a little bit more about your history, why gaming got you, kind of like some of your favorite memories and so on and so forth. I tried not to surprise you with questions in advance, so you had some time to think about it. That is, if you looked at the doc.
You can surprise me with the questions.
Perfect.
Fine.
Perfect.
Any way you want to do this is good with me.
So my first question is really, as a kid or a teen or whatever, you have many options to find what really grabbed your attention. Maybe it's sports, maybe it's movies, TV, hiking and things like that, becoming a Boy Scout, whatever. But some of us got the gaming fever. You and I are close to the same age where gaming was not a beloved and almost never widely accepted hobby. You're kind of considered a nerd, things like that. So when you did find those who were also into gaming, it became like a great connection right away. And maybe you rented your games at a video store, or you had enough money to afford what you did. I even rented a Genesis because I was too cheap, too poor. I wanted to date girls, but I wanted to also play. So renting a video game console, kids, that happened back in the day. So how did the gaming bug hit you? I mean, it goes from like just an introduction to kind of more of a, wow, I'm doing this for 40 years.
I know, right? Yeah, I mean, the gaming bug hit me. I grew up in the 80s and arcades were a big thing. I grew up in the Midwest where we had Showbiz Pizza.
Oh, love Showbiz
and,
Pizza. Michigan, that's where mine was.
Nice. And played a lot of games, or the culture was about kind of pre-crash, I guess. Like, was still like all about video games at the time, and I was really into it because I'm not really a sports person. I'm more of an indoor kid in general, but I really liked the idea that I can take control of these characters and like live out a fantasy of stomping on Goombas or going on an adventure. My family bought an Odyssey 2 right around the crash time. So games were super cheap. But so Pickaxe Pete was like my Donkey Kong back in the day. And yeah, I just kind of lived out that sort of fantasy of, escaping my regular existence for a little while, like entering a magical storybook land of video games, right? Like,
So CJ, I'm sharing an image of an Odyssey 2 for anybody has never heard of this console. I mean, it was the wild, wild west back in the day because it was like you knew a kid had a ColecoVision, kid had an Intellivision. Some people had a Pong machine. Yeah, I was that weird kid who had an Atari 5200 that nobody liked to talk about because the controllers were so bad. So
first analog joysticks, though,
and first system that actually you could pause the game, which was crazy.
Yeah, pretty cool.
But I didn't know any kids who had an Odyssey 2.
Yeah. Me neither. Well, no, that's not true. A neighbor of ours got the Odyssey 2, and my brother and I like badgered my parents into getting one too. And this was right around the time of the crash, so it was super cheap. The games were like $5 each or less. Like they were clearancing all of that stuff out. So it was great. We got the Odyssey 2. We got the little voice module that spoke to you, and it had a keyboard, so it was slightly educational, but not really. And yeah, the Pickaxe Pete here that we're watching on screen, kind of like a Donkey Kong-esque game in some ways. I played the heck out of that game and just really enjoyed it. It's not, sports like baseball or soccer or anything, but it's, destroying barrels with a pickaxe, and that's cooler.
Was the objective of this game to just destroy all the barrels?
I don't even remember. I don't even remember what the objective was. I haven't played it in 40 years plus. So yeah, I couldn't tell you, but it was fun. I enjoyed it.
Wow.
You have the ladders that disappear. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what the objective is, but who cares about objectives? This is the early days of video games. It was all about score, right?
I mean,
how many barrels are you going to crush or something like that?
Absolutely. It's thinking about all those games. I think it was like Robotron 2084. I mean, just that hype. You feel like, oh my goodness, I'm going to make it to this many points, because there really was no save states. There wasn't other levels. You just had to survive waves. So kind of like roguelites were really, I think, invented back in the day for arcade games when they were basically made to eat your money. So
yes, they sure were. Yeah. And, not only Saturday morning cartoons full of video game ads and stuff, and Showbiz Pizza, arcade games everywhere. My family went to this our ice cream parlor called the Purple Cow in the Beverly neighborhood of Chicago is where I grew up. And they had a Donkey Kong machine, a Crystal Castles machine, a Popeye, and a Star Wars arcade machine. So really like some heavy hitters there. And that's like, we would go there for birthdays as well. And that's kind of where I fell in love with games. It was the Crystal Castles machine that did it specifically. It was, we were there, I don't know, on a Saturday and playing the games as usual. And some guy was on the Crystal Castles machine and he was like, hey kid, I'll show you this trick to get like further in the game. I was like, oh, this is cool. Okay. So like on the first stage, there's this area and it's a trackball game, because that's some games used like interesting control methods back in the day. So it's a trackball game, and you kind of spin the trackball, and you're controlling this bear collecting gems, kind of Pac-Man-esque in some ways. And there's a place where you can like basically like break the geometry and go through it, and then warp to like, I don't know, stage 50 or 60, like a pretty big skip. And like seeing that and then being able to like know how to do it, it was like, oh man, this is cool. I'm definitely going to get my initials up on the high scoreboard now. And that was just kind of like an aha moment for me. Like, oh, this is more than just a simple game. There's a trick to it, and there's hidden stuff here. And it was just super interesting.
If you're watching online right now, just what you said, CJ, like, I'm assuming nobody thought you could walk behind the castle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't think anybody thought that, but yeah. An interesting game, Crystal Castles. I haven't played it in a long time, but that's basically like, that's probably the game that got me to fall in love with video games initially. Although I loved all the games that this ice cream parlor had. Donkey Kong, of course, great. Popeye by Nintendo, also great. So, yeah, good stuff.
That was an era where there was really no magazines that were released. I mean, there was local magazines too. But, like, especially at arcades. Our little town had an arcade, which is just crazy to think that little Metamora, Michigan had an arcade. Yet we did. And then the great thing about arcades is every once in a while you show up and like there's something new. I remember with the first time Dragon's Lair showed up. I'm like, what is this?
Yes. What is this doing? This doesn't look like the games that I saw before. This is like a cartoon and I'm playing it. It's amazing. Like the advancements in technology at that time and just the gimmicks that a lot of game makers put in just made it super exciting. Like, yeah, you'd go to Showbiz Pizza and they'd have Dragon's Lair there, and then they'd have Space Ace, and then there were like tank games that you got into like a cockpit to play, and then more games did the whole hydraulics thing, and it was more like a ride, and you're like, whoa, like what is happening here? It's a very exciting time, really, to be a kid. It was like being a kid in a candy store, except it kind of was that. So
absolutely. And you did whatever you could to convince your parents to take you if it was a standalone arcade. If you're lucky at your grocery store, maybe they had a couple of arcade games. Like we had Karnov at the Kroger, which
nice.
like Karnov, yes, a game about I guess he was Russian guy without a shirt.
Yeah. Why do you think they picked that? Was it because it started with a K? And it was a Kroger?
It just looked so crazy. I mean, it was just like, I'd never heard of this game before. It was just, the gameplay was so unique, but so hard. And I was just, it was just like Wizard of War was another classic of mine, just because of the sound and just the nature of, and I tell you, there is nothing as magic as being around a million arcades machines and just that sound.
Yes. Yeah, you go to any like Portland Retro Gaming Expo or the Midwest Gaming Expo, and they recreate that feeling sometimes. When you're surrounded by a lot of arcade machines, there's just a vibe that happens, right? Like, and then certain smells like you start to remember those arcade smells or the Showbiz Pizza smells, even though they're not there. Do you have memory of it? Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. It is an era that can't be reproduced, but there is Dave and Buster's, there is Chuck E. Cheese, and, that is something.
Talking about that for a second, like, I think kids today, like, have a different experience with games, but it's kind of the Wild West in some ways as well, like with Roblox, like, growing up with that platform, or Minecraft, like growing up with that, or Fortnite, like some of these games that just evolved with you as you grow up, like that's kind of crazy to think about. Like imagine growing up with Super Mario Brothers that like constantly evolved or changed as you played it. That kind of thing would be exceedingly exciting to me. Like, yeah. And yeah, they're free. Some of these games are free. So
I think we all kids of a certain age realized you only had so many birthday dollars coming in, so maybe Christmas presents. So you had to figure out, are you going to do any like work for mom and dad to save money?
What one game am I going to get for this holiday?
And
I have to decide.
Wisely. because there was no reviews. Maybe you got a Nintendo Power, but you had to wait a month before you found out if I don't know, Mega Man was good. Based on the cover, it wasn't good, but when I picked it up, I was very happy.
Exactly. Well, and reviews back in those days, like you go back and read some of the old magazines, they are not focused on the things that we are focused on now. Like we're not talking about story or anything like that, or even like game difficulty is not really mentioned all that much. It's all about like playability and graphics and high score type of
cartridge
things.
Size.
It's different. It's cartridge size. Yeah, it's a lot different world now than it was back then, for sure.
Well, I'm glad we got a couple of good moments, because I was going to say, like, what have games meant to what games have meant the most to you, and any favorite memories? So obviously we talked about the arcade memories and, an arcade game, but obviously the arcade era is a small part of your history.
It's true.
So what would be those touchstones for you?
I think the original Super Mario Brothers is a big one. The first time that I played that, it was at my friend Andy's house, and his family was hosting a Cub Scout meeting, and then afterwards a bunch of kids like played Nintendo on like a tiny like 19-inch TV or something that was in his room, and I was just mesmerized by Super Mario Brothers. Like I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It's like my perception of video games had been, single screen score chase kind of thing, and then seeing this game that scrolled to the side and changed environments and looked as good as it did, it was just like unbelievable. It was mind-blowing that a video game could be like this, right? So that was a big one. Eventually I convinced my parents to buy an NES, and then I didn't have to go over to my friend Andy's house anymore to get my Nintendo fix. And right from there was a break between the Odyssey 2 and the NES, because obviously the industry crashed and not much really happened for me in video games until the NES, which might have been like 2 or 3 years later. And from then on, it's just been nonstop games. So it all began with Super Mario Brothers.
Did you trade games with kids? I did that a lot. Like, I'll trade you this and I'll get Rambo, the game for the NES, which was just an interesting game to believe. But did you do like trades?
No, I didn't do trades. Well, I shouldn't say that. The few times that I did trades, I like never got my games back. I traded a friend. Well, actually, maybe it was that I didn't give their games back. That could have been too.
That's true. You might have lost one of your favorite games. You might have gained a really bad game like TNC Surf Designs.
That's right. The last trade that I remember was I traded a friend Wonder Dog for the Sega CD for Sewer Shark. I got Sewer Shark for trading him Wonder Dog.
I think know what Wonder Dog is.
It's a side-scrolling platformer, and it's honestly terrible. Like, it's not good, but it was one of those games that Game Fan magazine like really talked up, and I bought into that hype hook, line, and sinker. And it's just not a very good game. No.
This looks like reminds me of like a putt game, like putt, like educational almost.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised by that at all. Like, yeah, the animation is very rudimentary and big and kind of like it's. I think Core Design made it, so like, yeah,
really.
The Chuck Rock people and
Core Design, JVC was the publisher.
Yeah, later on, Tomb Raider from Core.
Here we go. We do have some side scrolling. Perfect.
Yeah, it's a very European platformer, as you can tell, maybe from just the style. But so I got Sewer Shark
using all that CD power, right?
Yeah, it's all that Red Book audio, man.
Oh yeah,
all that good audio, and they had like cartoon cutscenes, which were It may be impressive at the time, but they're pretty bad. They're pretty bad. Yeah. That was the only time I traded.
My
with somebody.
comic book shop had a Sega CD that they would rent you, but they would also let you play it. So it was amazing when they got to Sega CD, because I'm like, oh my goodness, there's video and all these crazy things. And Sewer Shark, Night Trap, there were a few others. Remember there was a Sony game based on the Bram Stoker's Dracula movie.
It
was interesting.
Yeah, for sure. I like many our age, I worked at a video game store back in the day. I worked at Babbage's in the mall.
Okay.
And Babbage's is the precursor to like GameStop now, but it only sold software and maybe a couple other tchotchke things, computer software and video games and printer paper and things like that. Diskettes for your computer.
But 3.5 and 5.25 variety.
Yeah. So that was an interesting place to work, and we could check out the games for like a night or whatever, and take them home and play them, and bring them back. They had this policy where you could do that, and so I got to play an awful lot of games that way, which was really fun. Or then I remember the day we got the 3DO in back in the day. I remember it because we would all of us who were working that day, like took breaks and went in the back during our like dinner break and watched the 5-minute segment from the Batman animated series that's on like the demo disc for the 3DO. And it was amazing because it's like, oh my gosh, a cartoon of this quality on on a game system. How crazy is that? Well, what are they going to do with this technology? It was great. I was there. I worked at Babbage's for the Saturn launch, which was fun. The surprise Saturn launch.
I was going to say, because that was announced at a not E3 show.
That was announced at E3, yeah.
Oh, was it? Was it the early days of E3?
I think the first E3.
Oh, wow.
In fact, and then they released it like the very next day, and I remember getting it in at our store, and I did buy one that night. Bought a Saturn because I was excited about it, but yeah.
What was the? I mean, trying to think of like even like 3DO. I mean, 3DO, Saturn. Trying to think of like what were the killer apps that were like, okay, this is going to make me buy these 3DO was very expensive. And the Saturn was like $400, I think.
Yeah, I mean the 3DO I didn't buy initially. I bought it after a couple of price drops. It went from like $700 or $800 down to like $300, and then I bought it. But when I bought it, I was working at Babbage's at the time, and then they also had many different promotions for free pack-in games. So I got like 5 games with it too. I got Jurassic Park Interactive and Out of This World and Off-World Interceptor and a couple like really, really good games. But yeah, they had stuff like Samurai Showdown by that point and Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, which was awesome on the 3DO. Like those were games that, weren't on the Super Nintendo or anything like that. And Gex, originated on the 3DO as well.
I forgot about that.
It was around that time where I owned one. Yeah, Crystal Dynamics. Yeah, it was an interesting system.
Now, did you also get Encarta with it or something, or was that just the CDI?
Encarta, that was CDI, I think. I didn't get any edutainment titles. I did have CPU Bach later, which is like an AI thing. You give it some prompts and it plays you some music that kind of sounds like Bach, but not really. That was kind of fun. But around that time is when I started working at EGM also. For a while, I worked at EGM and Babbage's at the same time.
How did that work? I mean, how did you go from, like you said, being in high school, to being able to write for a magazine?
Yeah. Well, I had been writing about video games for a little while. I started a fanzine about games in 1991. So I was only like 14 at the time. And it was because I had been reading a magazine called Video Games and Computer Entertainment at that time. And they had a column in there every once in a while that talked about fanzines for video games. Like, these are amateur newsletters about games. And I thought, oh man, that's so cool. I could do my own fanzine and start writing about games right now. And so I did. And I would send issues of that to all the video game magazines that I knew of. So GamePro, Game Players, EGM, Game Fan. And EGM, Electronic Gaming Monthly, was in the suburb, like right next to where I lived in Chicago. They were in Lombard, Illinois. I was in Naperville, Illinois. And so I was like, well, maybe I could get a job there. That would be pretty cool.
That is amazing. I mean, that's one of those things that you just had to be the right place at the right time, right? And do
it's
the
all right
work
place, right time. So much. Well, I mean, I look back at my career and so much of it is right place, right time.
Do you remember this article about the PlayStation when PlayStation was coming out that you wrote, Chris?
That's a book. That's a whole book.
Oh, it is a whole book about the PlayStation?
That's a PlayStation buyer's guide that I wrote over the summer in 1995. And EGM paid me a lump sum to write that book. And as part of it, I got my first computer. Or actually, I guess my second computer, but first real computer, first Mac, which felt like, oh man, this is
not
real.
A Packard Bell.
no Packard Bell. I got the system from them and wrote a book about the EGM Buyer's Guide to PlayStation Video Games is what I think it's called. Wrote it. Didn't take any screen grabs for it. All the EGM staff or the publishing folks over at Sendai did that stuff. So this was my first like real writing gig. I'd worked at EGM the summer before this in 94 and I went back to school instead of continuing to work at EGM. But I was home for the summer and they were like, hey, would you want to do a book project with us? And I said, yes, I would. So
I love this fact in here. You talk about the setup, and this reminds me when I worked at Kmart in the electronics section when I was back from college during Christmas break. And I remember like when the N64 was coming out and like everybody was like, oh, I can't hook it up to my TV. So you mentioned here specifically, if your TV doesn't have AV ports, you'll go through your VCR, which I'm like, that is so crazy. I remember that. Oh yeah, you just hook it up through your VCR. That was different times.
Yes, those times are gone now. It's all HDMI now. You don't have to worry about.
Oh, absolutely. Nothing
RCA
difficult.
Jacks
I mean, the last time I think it was very difficult to hook something up was when the systems went early HD, and then you had the composite cables where there were like three component. That's right. So like 5 different cables you needed, 3 for color, 2 for stereo. Is that what it was?
Yep, that's right. Yeah. Writing that PlayStation book was interesting, and then I went off to college for a year, and then my family couldn't send me back to college. Oh, there's the PlayStation video
your name
games.
is right there. Oh my good. Not endorsed by Sony.
Yes, book not endorsed, sponsored, or otherwise authorized by Sony. Very important.
Wonderful
to say that.
Do you own a copy of this?
I do. I have probably a dozen copies of it.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's cool. It's a cool little thing. So I got paid a lump sum for it, and it was worth it.
Fantastic. I love that. I just imagine the amount of work, all the content you had to get. Pictures were probably hard to get.
I didn't have screen grab. I didn't have any way to take captures or anything, so I just did the text and they did the captures. But the funny thing is, like, when they first sent me the PlayStation and I started writing the book, I realized the PlayStation has memory cards. I need a memory card. I need to be able to save my game, right?
Wow.
To be able to do like a strategy guide on Ridge Racer, like I need to be able to save, because when I turn the power off, all my progress goes away. And so I bought a memory card, but it didn't come right away. It took like a week or more to arrive. So I was working on the Ridge Racer section, and I had to basically play all the way through Ridge Racer without saving, without powering the system down, and like defeat the black car at the end, like, and really, put all my thoughts down about Ridge Racer before getting the memory card. And then I powered it down. I was like, am I really sure that I'm going to do this and erase all my progress? Yeah. Okay. So, no
Was
memory
that
card.
the first console with memory cards?
No, the Neo Geo had memory cards as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that was the first, maybe, but the PlayStation was the first like mainstream one that had memory cards. Very cool system. But the people who assigned me the book project didn't realize that you can't save the game.
Yeah. I think the Neo Geo, didn't you take like something to the arcade and could put it in and transfer your progress, I think, or like your records?
You could, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. That was a pretty fun system too. I never owned a Neo Geo, but I always wanted one. It's like,
I mean, what were the carts like? They were huge carts and they cost like $300 a piece.
Yeah, they did.
Just insane.
Yeah. well out of my price range.
I guess that's what you pay for the, arcade, we're talking like arcade authentic experience, and you paid for it.
True. Yes. Yeah. But after writing the book, then I went to college, came back, decided I wasn't going to go back to college in the fall, and then was able to get a job at EGM as a temp. So I returned to EGM at that point and was holiday help, basically. Because back in the day, magazines would go from like 100 pages to 300 pages or something like that.
Buyer's guide, right?
Phone book size, right? Yeah. They'd be really big. So they needed people to help with all that content. So that's how I got back into EGM, was through that. And then I ended up staying there until 2004.
What did your parents think of that when you said, "Oh, I'm not going back to college. I'm going to get into the video game media"?
Yeah, part of it was the family financial situation, so they understood. But it didn't stop them from asking me if I was ever going to go back to college for the next 30 years. Like I
guess this is a thing.
Continually get that question from them. It's like, but I have the job that I want, so why do I need to go back?
You're still employed. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Still employed doing video game stuff. Yeah. Crazy.
Absolutely love that.
Yeah. And I had no idea back then that I would go into any other area of video games. Just from writing about games. I thought it was less work than just an extension of my existing hobby and existing love of games. Like working at EGM, I loved the magazine growing up. I could say growing up, it was like 3 years before I worked there.
Yep.
Growing up. And I loved all video game magazines, but EGM especially, like it was just what I tended to drift to. And working there was so much fun. It was just a great group of people, especially the era of Dan Shu and Crispin Boyer and that sort of crew that was at the magazine. back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And yeah, it wasn't work so much as a lot of fun being had and sharing my enthusiasm about video games with the people who were reading the magazine too. And that just made everything a lot more fun. When you're determining what people read about, it's kind of a crazy thing.
It's a lot of power.
It is a lot of power.
Your decision based on this is basically the only thing you know, because YouTube didn't exist back in the day. You couldn't see trailers. You couldn't see gameplay.
Nope. You couldn't. Yeah, and so I would be at launches like the GameCube unveiling in Japan and the debut of the PlayStation 2, and it's like, I can't believe I'm sitting here doing this stuff, getting paid to do it and experiencing all of this great stuff. And then, bringing it to readers of the magazine, it was just insanely rewarding. And I also got to mess around with people's expectations too, with the April Fool's jokes. So you remember the Sonic and Tails in Smash Brothers Melee?
There were so many painful and mean ones that every kid decided, you can get this. What was it? The Mortal Kombat character that you could get. Was it Noob Saibot, or was that the one that was it? Or was it? I'm trying to remember.
There have been several. Been several like that. Yeah. But so I got to like mastermind some of the April Fool's jokes, including the Sonic and Tails and Smash Brothers Melee trick, which was great because then Nintendo had to put on their their helpline, a message that if you're calling about Sonic and Tails and Smash Brothers, that is false. And so it was like an accomplishment. Like I made it to
well, just a couple generations earlier, because now, is Sonic eventually Sonic and Smash Brothers? I don't even remember.
Sonic is in Smash Brothers now.
So there you go. You foresaw it coming.
Yeah. I take credit for being the person that introduced guest characters into Smash Brothers because of the Sonic and Tails.
Sakurai read that issue. Could have been. I'm gonna make it happen.
I'm sure he did. I'm sure he did read it because that trick is really well known.
I love that. So there is a lot of interesting characters back then. We had like people writing under different names. Maybe Quarterman wasn't one person. He was many. Was it Sushi X? Was that another one?
Yeah, Sushi X. Yeah, I was Quarterman for a good long time as well. In fact, the first day that I worked at EGM in 1994, they told me that I was Quarterman. I was writing the Quarterman column that month. And I was like, wait, what? Like, doesn't Quarterman write the Quarterman column? And they're like, no.
It's a mantle. It's like the Dread Pirate Roberts, right? It's a mantle you pass on. It's a fable.
Something like that. Sure. And it was fun because I'd been reading the magazine for so long. I knew exactly the voice to use to write it. And it was a fun challenge. Yeah.
Amazing. Everybody salivated for all of those things. Like, oh my goodness, this is going to be amazing.
I know. There was one, and if you remember Quarterman at that time, like sometimes there would be bits that just made no sense, some absurd line, like that maybe it was an in-joke, maybe not. I did a shout out to a friend of mine in high school in that column as they like, look, see, it's me. Like I'm shouting you out in this magazine.
That's amazing. And
that was fun. Nobody got
Quarterman was this person who shared gossip about things that the industry didn't want you to know. And I don't know what the accuracy rate was, but you know what? I want to believe it was more right than wrong.
And here you have a 17-year-old kid from Chicago writing it.
Such wisdom.
I know. But the rumors in those days were kind of a collective thing. Like anybody who was working on the magazine who had heard something from somebody, and those kind of got collected into like a Word doc or like printed pages that then I would just turn into the gaming gossip page. So
which is just amazing. I mean, and so many people remember that. So just think about that. The legacy of EGM is carried through. I mean, and like I said, we were talking earlier, like we just missed the era of podcasts, which EGM with all of their team, One Up Yours and all the others that came out of that. I remember the video show. It was amazing. And obviously you picked up the baton with what you do now regards to just your part-time job is basically being a podcast host as well. That's kind of cool that you think about podcast being one of those things somebody talks about and like, what even is that?
I know. And the funny thing is, Player One Podcast is a show that I do with two guys that I had previously worked with at EGM. And when we started the show, we were out of the industry. I was working at an anime magazine at the time. Phil, my co-host, he was a teacher at the time. And then Greg Seward was I believe working in like broadcasting at the time. We weren't doing anything in video games, but and we lived in very different places at the time, and we would get on Xbox Live and play Burnout Revenge and then talk about video games and for an hour while we played. And we were thinking we should just record this and release it as a podcast. And so we did do that. We started in October of 2006. And so we're coming up on 19 years.
Almost 20 years. Wow.
Almost 20 years. Yeah. That's crazy.
And you still have things to talk about and you still want to talk to each other.
We still have things to talk about and still want to talk to each other. Yeah. Yeah, and really when we started it, it was a way to talk about video games again, because we had been in the press and we'd been out of it and just wanted to talk more about games, and maybe people would listen to it, maybe not. And we've been doing it for 19 years. Suddenly you blink and time has progressed.
I think about all these podcasts that are now getting up to a certain age. Yours is getting close to being able to legally drink, which is fantastic. I only got to 11 years on my old one, and obviously I'm doing this now. So that's a challenge. It's tough. People's lives change. Scheduling is horrible, as you know.
Yes, it is.
And the fact that and then you have a Patreon, so. Obviously, folks, if you want to check that Patreon out, Chris will, CJ will let you know exactly more about that, but it's there. Check it out. They do an amazing podcast. And I'm assuming you do it because you love it, but if you can, pay a little bit for the overhead and things like that, and pay for some equipment and, lunch money.
Yeah, exactly.
It's well worth it.
Yeah. And I look at that and it's like, that's kind of why, I mean, when I got into writing about video games, I was doing it for fun. I was doing a fanzine and people were maybe reading it, but I was mainly doing it just for fun. And then I got to work at a magazine professionally. And then after that kind of ended, it was like, I still want to talk about games though. So started a podcast just to have that same kind of fun, right? And to have it go 19 years is crazy, but it's still a lot of fun.
So that leads me into, obviously, gaming. When you start where you're currently at, the technology gets better. The ways you can play, your time changes, available to do that, balancing life and everything else, relationships, and video games often are not shared by spouses and significant others.
True.
So balancing is hard. So how have your gaming interests evolved, since you started back with Odyssey 2 to now where, I mean, you're heavily involved with VR in your work life. So, I mean,
it's true.
How do you, where do you feel like you've kind of left behind and where you're kind of headed now, or where your interests lie?
It's probably not too different from back in the day, really. I still don't like sports games. I still prefer score chase, like short score chase style games, or games that you can play with friends that are more social uh, than anything. I don't really play too many shooters, but I enjoy cooperative games and things like that. So my tastes really haven't changed all that much, although new things have always layered on top of that. So I really like asymmetrical horror games. That's a genre that I really enjoy, and those weren't a thing back in the day. But I find those to be extremely compelling just from a social aspect of things. Like, it is more of a social deception game kind of deal. Or cooperative games like Sea of Thieves. I put 4,000 hours into Sea of Thieves.
Wow, you must be like an admiral of with 18, galleons or whatever they have.
The game's been out for 7 years, so 4,000 hours. Well, the majority of those 4,000 hours were in the first couple of years of Sea of Thieves. But
that's amazing. Do you know? Are you aware of a person called Captain Logan?
I am friends with Captain Logan.
Oh,
absolutely.
yeah, Captain Logan and I and Luke Laura with their podcast and the Keel Hall podcast, amazing.
Yes.
And I love that community because everybody seems to be so happy and just they love the game and they just want the game to be better and people to play it.
Absolutely, yes.
Small
love
world.
The Keel
That's
Hall
amazing.
podcast. Big fan of Captain Logan and Luke Laura, of course, doing Xbox expansion pass. So yeah, my tastes have, I guess, evolved, but I'm still playing an awful lot of video games. Still finding time to play them and then work on them too. So Enhance, we don't only do VR games, we do flat games as well. So games like Tetris Effect Connected and Rez Infinite, Lumines Remastered, and Humanity. And then we're releasing Lumines Arise here on November 11th. And that is also a dual game. You can play it without VR, or optionally, you can check it out with VR. And that's been working with Enhance has been awesome. And because I'm a big fan of Tetsuya Mizuguchi, who owns the company, like his games back in the day, Rez and Space Channel 5 and Sega Rally, like he really knows his stuff. And, he worked on Medios with Sakurai. That's and right. You have Child of Eden, which was a Microsoft thing. But yeah, it's been amazing to work with that company on kind of behind the scenes, like play testing and offering feedback to the developers as they're going, and helping to shape products before people get to play them. It's really fun to do that. And I'd worked at Adult Swim Games before that, so I had experience working at a video game publisher as a producer before working at Enhance. And yeah, going behind the scenes and working with the dev team on something is amazing. And I never thought I would be able to do that, and suddenly I was. But yeah, haven't lost my love for video games over the last however many years, except for a brief period in 2004. Brief period in 2004 where I didn't play games. It was right after I left EGM. I didn't play games for about 8 months until Halo 2 came out. And then it was right back
Perfect
at
time.
it.
Yeah, absolutely. LAN parties. Well, no, Xbox Live at that point.
Xbox Live at that point. It was the first one for Xbox Live. I had moved to Houston, Texas at that time, and was far away from any of my other gamer friends. And we would all hop on Halo 2 and play, and it was just like
that amazing
we were in
headset that they included with the the subscription. You get the headset, the card, and
hell yeah.
Assaults.
Yeah.
So that makes me think of the VR games that you're involved in. And I do want to say
VR, very important, optional
correct.
VR.
It's that dual option, which is amazing, because it's essentially saying this game stands alone on its own without VR, but it's enhanced with VR. It does something else, the immersion. But I do want to say first, RIP Adult Swim Games. Some of those games are so amazing, and I know they had some issues about like people wanting to get the games, and obviously talk about preservation is just a sad state, but the unicorn game with the erasure song is still one of my favorites.
Robot Unicorn Attack. Yeah, I was producer on that game.
I mean, erasure, that song, I can't get tired of that song, so it's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah, erasure's fantastic.
I have played so many hours of that game too, but for work, so I can
probably better. I don't think I lasted very long ever in that game, but it was still amazing when I played it. So I would say at this point, I remember when they were talking about Lumines Arise?
Yeah.
And I was listening to the DLC podcast, and Jeff Canada is a huge VR fan, and he was so sad because he's like, oh, I wish there was VR in this, and they're like, they announced VR is coming. He was like, oh my God, and he gets so excited about VR. So it was like amazing. And I love that because I have played Tetris Effect without VR, and it's amazing. Some of those things in the background, and it's like, oh my God, the whale or whatever. Oh, it's amazing. And Luminous is a huge game. Remember when the PSP, that was like huge part of the PSP. Medios was on the 2D, no, DS. I believe. Yeah, DS, not 2DS or a DS. And then we've got the introduction of that technology, and some people obviously can't do VR because of just motion sickness and things like that. But also VR has taken a strange turn where it's like, wow, who knew Facebook would make the most famous VR headset in the world? So
it's true.
And you've got publicity, and then Apple's doing theirs own. I'd be curious to see if eventually Apple does say, yeah, we're gonna have games on our $3,500 headset.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how that goes. I don't know. I was one of the people who got motion sickness from VR back in the earlier days, like before the Quest 2. I would get motion sickness very easily from VR, and it took a lot to get my VR legs. And I have a motion sickness bracelet that I use.
Oh, the C-bands? Is that what
no, not the C-bands.
Oh,
no.
Okay.
It's a company called Relief Band makes this wristband that gives you electric pulses on your pressure point. Oh. And it's actually much better than the C-band. Like, it works very, very well. And that has helped me weather some of the really nausea-inducing VR games. But everything that Enhanced makes, I can play without any problem whatsoever. So, yeah.
The technology got better. The screen resolution, the refresh, and all those things really helped. So it was the FOV. That a lot. So much of that is so much better. I did use C-bands when I had my Quest 1. 3S was totally different. It was like so much better. I enjoyed it. Yeah. And it makes me think of fun story. I was in the Air Force, and the first time I flew was going to flight training, which was where you would go and you'd learn everything about the military, and then you do a flight orientation. Mission or jet orientation. It's called JETO. And for some reason, I took the controls, and they said, "Oh yeah, do whatever you want." Dropped, went deep quick, too quick. My stomach was in my brain, and I used the air sickness bag. So I needed something for the rest of my life. Roller coaster rides, things like that. I always need something. So I may have to find out what those bands are because I'm going to Disneyland in January.
All right. Yeah, the it's helped me a lot. Let's just say, and I started getting motion sickness from video games too. I get that now. I realized this. With Hexen 64 back in the day.
Hexen 64, because I just played the Hexen Heretic release they just put out too.
Yeah. It
was great.
On the N64, of course, the frame rate was bad, which was probably one thing. But then I wasn't the one playing. I was taking screenshots. So I was watching somebody else play, and I got so nauseous I had to leave work. And then I started feeling better as soon as I left work. I was like, maybe it was the game that did this. And then now, yeah, some games I can tell within the first couple minutes whether it's going to be a problem or not. And a lot of games now have mitigation things like either the center dot, or you can change the field of view, which helps a lot. But I didn't know that. Nobody knew that back then.
No, I mean, I hadn't heard about that back in the day because I was thinking, oh yeah, that probably wasn't a deal. But I've heard, several people I know, they just can't do first person shooters.
I know a lot of people like that too. Yeah,
which is a shame, but I totally get it. Totally get it that,
yes.
Very interesting. So we've looked at the past. Now I just want to look a little bit forward.
Let's do it.
So what has you most excited about the future of gaming, either the gaming industry, the technology? Obviously, I'm trying to keep the show positive because there are so many sad news we've got. But I mean, there's got to be a light at the end of the tunnel that is not the train coming at you that would say this is why people still want to go into the industry. And I still see how many people want to be in part of the industry. You're part of it. And obviously it's a different type of era because there's probably more people that want in than jobs. But what has you excited? That's like, there's stuff to get excited about and has me excited, and people that come after me are going to have something really excited to look forward to.
Sure. I mean, it's very similar to my excitement about video games back in the day. It's like being able to do things that you wouldn't normally do or experience things that you wouldn't normally do. I think video games have a unique power also to make you feel emotions, like to lift your spirits or change your mood. And I know I go back to a lot of games to do exactly that. Right. Yeah. So, and the games that Enhance makes, I think, play really well into that because they are about synesthesia and making you feel a certain way. And maybe the narrative isn't, that obvious in a game like Tetris Effect, or like Lumines Arise, which comes out November 11th. Buy it. And the fun thing is like playing those games and like experiencing those feelings, or watching somebody else play on stream and then experience a feeling or like have some kind of different experience than I had, right? Like that's maybe one of the most interesting things to me about games is just how they can impact people in a positive way. And
look at that screen. That is amazing. You've got two MTV Moon Men walking into the screen. Things are coming at you. Oh my God. And I imagine the soundtrack is just a banger.
The soundtrack is amazing. Yes. By Hydelic, the same performer that did Tetris Effect Connected and Takako Ishida. And the game really makes you and puzzle games have a really interesting way of making you zone everything else out. I don't know if you've had this experience where you're playing a puzzle game and the world around you just kind of disappears and you're just so focused on that. And Enhance, I think, is great at making you feel a certain way or experience these emotions while you're playing because you're locked into the visuals, you're hearing the music, you're feeling the haptics, and it makes you feel feelings. And sometimes that's fear, sometimes that's joy, sometimes that's sadness or bitter defeat, right? And that's some of the stuff I find the most interesting about games. So I'm beyond ecstatic that I have had even a small role in bringing these games to players. So, and yeah, I'm a product manager, so that does mean I am all about marketing and
absolutely
messaging. And we're watching this deep dive video that I narrated. And
so listen to, if I had to mute the video because I cannot listen. I would be very weird if I heard I've got CJ in my ear and CJ here. What is going on? Yes. So I was thinking about that. Like we talk about like technology. And so I think of like one of the best things from this generation has been the DualSense. Those haptics, those just like, and it's amazing. And you get that. You even get the sound of the speaker, which can really add some immersion. I think if we're
it does
some of the amazing things it did there with almost feel like, oh, is there raindrops going in my head? No, it's just that feeling. And then we've got obviously, we're getting the Virtual Boy back. So, that means it's going to be, it's going to be amazing how that technology comes back with that little $100 stand. It's amazing. I mean,
absolutely.
Hey, if you could make a demake of like Luminous and put it on the Virtual Boy, I'm sure Nintendo would love you to pieces.
That would be funny. But yeah, I mean, part of it is, video games as an escape or as some way to make you get in touch with yourself or your feelings. Like, I think that's super interesting. But aside from that, games like Sea of Thieves or Peak or Among Us or Friday the 13th, the game, or like things like that are social experiences as well. Like, I really find that to be super, super interesting. Like Peak, I think, is just a lot of the gameplay is just very standard stuff. Yeah, you're climbing a mountain, but you're doing it with a friend or you're helping each other, right? Like there's a button to like reach down and like lift your friend up to the level that you're on. And I feel like that stuff is also super interesting. And like with Sea of Thieves, when I started playing it and got involved in Captain Logan's community, actually, I met a lot of people who were playing the game at that time and have met some of my best friends that way in that community. And that's like the power of video games, like that they can do this sort of thing. And that just boggles my mind. And I'm so amazed by it. And I can't wait to play more games that do that. And what does technology have in store for us in the future? Like, I don't know. I can't imagine what that is, but I'm excited about it. Even though AI, very controversial topic, but thinking about AI in terms of how it's going to impact video games is just really an interesting idea to me. I, of course, don't want AI art. Like, that's not as interesting to me, or have AI write your articles or your stories. Like, no, that's not as interesting to me.
Just basically become your actors, your voice actors. And that's
no. But the idea that, AI could react to something that you do in a video game in a realistic manner. I mean, we've been talking about that ever since the original Halo. Like, you throw a sticky grenade and the enemy like jumps out of the way or makes a comment. Like,
that's what made Halo stand out. It was the unpredictability of the aliens. You weren't expecting the same, doing the same track.
Exactly. And it heightens the experience for all of us. So
it makes very funny videos too.
And it absolutely does. And does AI as we know it now, like, does it have something to give to that in terms of like a gameplay experience? Not talking about AI art or writing the story, but in terms of like immersing you more, like, what does that mean? I'm interested to find out. I'm not doing anything in AI myself, like Enhance is not, but it's so many people are. It's going to be real interesting to see how it shakes out.
Absolutely. Right now, I feel like we're kind of at a point where people, typically big companies right now, are trying to see what they can get away with, how it's actually going to work. Right. There's obviously going to be a reckoning where did you get what you was the investment, what you are actually getting out of it? Are people signing up for, ChatGPT Premium and things like that? My company is going very big on Gemini for a lot of things, and it's a little scary.
Imagine an RPG where the dialogue is mostly written by people who are telling a story, but then a shopkeeper, you can have a conversation with them that's not written. That could be pretty cool. Like
context based, right? Maybe they observe what's happening in the game and react to you.
Yeah. That could be really.
And that's hard. You can't write. You can't react, and people would have to watch it in the writing room as you're doing it. Like, it's like, animation. You can animate on the fly. No, you can't.
No. And to me, it's going to take a different way of thinking about AI.
Yes.
To me, I still love bespoke experiences. I'm playing Ghost of Yote, and I like all of the script in there and the cinematics. Like, love every minute of that. AI is not going to give me that. I don't want that. But I'm very curious to see where it leads.
It's kind of like the democratization of game making in a lot of ways. It makes me feel like all those kids growing up playing Roblox, Minecraft, like my son, that's where they cut their teeth and they become curious and what's next and become the next game designers. And they grow up with these tools and they leverage where they're good, but maybe have gaps. And quite honestly, not everybody has friends that are game designers, like a band, right? I'm going to make a band. I know 3 guys, we can make a band. Making a game is a little harder because do you know a guy has a skill set, but maybe we take away some of the grunt work, some of those things like the, randomly generated, like No Man's Sky. I mean, all those planets not designed. I mean, the programming and everything was done that, but it allowed a small team to do something pretty cool.
That's true. Although I guess in its initial release state, people weren't too impressed by that. But they eventually got it to a point where it's a really awesome game, right?
Absolutely. I remember the Jurassic Park kazoo music when it was like, welcome to Jurassic Park. And it was like, sad music because it didn't go out that way.
I feel so bad for Hello Games because they're such a great team and their main guy is so excited about games, like
supporting it for decades. I mean, or a decade, I guess. At this point.
I think a decade at the very least. Yeah.
And I mean, going from Joe Danger to that, I mean, it's just like seeing a lot of teams where they go from this to that, which is amazing to see these companies that get to do what they want versus making the 85th sequel of this or that. So totally.
Yeah.
So that makes me think of a really hard, this question, the hardest question I have.
Give me the hard-hitting question.
Favorite scary game? We're in
favorite scary game. I mean, we are in October, so scary vibes. Dead Space is my favorite scary game. The original. So
did you get back into the remake as well?
Yeah, got into the remake. Love that for sure. But the original, the OG, was really so my jam. Just
amazing.
The atmosphere in there and cutting off limbs with the cutter weapon. Very scary. Great use of lighting and environment and everything. It just and we're talking about video games that make you feel something. Dead Space makes you feel
a little crazy,
abject fear.
I mean, it felt like a little bit like Event Horizon at times. Really interesting. Well, very cool. I will share one of my deep cuts.
Please do.
Probably my favorite horror game is Clive Barker's Undying.
Really? Okay, this is a PC game, right?
It is a PC game, and it's a sad state that game has just never got more traction. Obviously, Clive Barker's dipped in to make other horror games, but this one was just very cool, set in almost like a Victorian era. This guy was going to this house, ends up being haunted, and there's demonic possessions, and you essentially you have to save the day. You end up getting handgun weapons, but you get a second ability in your other hand. So the dual wielding with magic abilities. It's very cool, very fun. Cool. I'm assuming it's on GOG. It's probably kind of dated, but I think it's a 2002, 2003 game. So I would highly recommend if you want a unique experience. Maybe GOG is kind of giving it the breath of fresh air, made sure it's playable on other game systems. But Undying is a game where I would say I wish we got more like it, where it just balanced yes, environment, things like that, but also with really cool gameplay. You don't get as many as, you don't get a lot of shooters or things like that are doing cool things with the storytelling environment, except for maybe like a Fear. Fear was one I thought that had a really unique viewpoint of modern horror, because you're like guys that are shooting things, and you look like you're Marines or something, but there's also a freaky little girl that's haunting you. So I just love it when you see a game like that just comes out of nowhere, and it just hits you. And I do have to show a little bit of the game really quick, just so people can see what it's like. But
interesting.
You have to get to an actual gameplay. So you've got regular weapons, but it looks like almost like the Quake front end
engine, the
HUD. Yeah, so it probably was. And then you're going around, then you get your special abilities and creatures, and I'm trying to think if there's anything else that pops up here. Well, you get this dragon.
Holy cow!
It's a crazy game, and that so dragon cool. Just animating as he's shooting. He's got that weapon plus hand. So it kind of reminds me of the BioShock. They may have taken some license from this game with the dual wielding.
Maybe so.
So it is on GOG. I think it's like, when I looked it up, I think I saw it there. So you can get it for $5.99. Oh, it has mature content. Sorry, kids. $5.99 on GOG. So get it while it's hot. 23, 24 years later.
Isn't that a great thing, though, how a lot of games now just are timeless and people can discover them years later? Like, it didn't feel like that was the case back in the early 90s. It's like if you wanted to play something from an Atari system, you just had to find the hardware and play it that way.
Everybody played every game. So it's like, you would always be surprised with, they made a Bible game on the NES? Fantastic. I mean, I know not everybody's into PC gaming, but that is one of the greatest things. Steam, for all of its foibles, and remember when it launched with Half-Life 2, I think that's the way they sold it in, but it's the best way to have a library and rediscover games as PCs, whether you do it legally or illegally in regards to old things that are just no longer in print. You can't buy them from the publisher or the developer. And
but now you can. And a game like Hollow Knight from 2016, 17, whatever, can be one of the biggest games in the world.
Absolutely. And it finds people that would have probably never considered the game. And now it's crazy. My son is absolutely a big fan of it. I'm not, but I totally get it. And my one wish, CJ, is Nintendo will finally do something with Eternal Darkness. Maybe.
Let's hope. That'd be fun.
So is just sitting there. GameCube's there. Just put it out there.
I could see them doing something with that. Yeah, I love that game. So. That was such a great game back in the day.
Well, they'll probably get Geist instead.
More than likely, yes.
Last question. So what games are you playing this fall? I mean, what's going to keep you occupied during the holiday season?
Oh my gosh, what's not going to keep me occupied during this holiday season? 2025 is crazy with absolutely amazing games. Obviously, Lumines Arise coming out.
Where are you playing it? Where's your preferred way to play?
I play on Steam or PS5. I'm bouncing around everywhere, and I'm mainly playing flat for right now, but it's great in VR as well.
Is that Switch 2 or no?
No. PS5 and PC on Steam only for right now.
That's all your Xbox ROG Ally X, because it has the Steam
or
store.
The ROG Ally. Yeah, you could play it there for sure.
Yeah.
But then I'm also playing. Pokemon Legends Z to A.
Just came out.
Just started that. Really impressed with that on the Switch 2. I think it looks great. And I'm having a lot of fun with it. Silent Hill F, I've been playing that on the PS5. Super scary.
Very messed up at points too.
Atmospheric game. Yeah, very messed up. I never was a Silent Hill guy in the past, but Silent Hill F being set in 1960s era Japan, just I don't know, it seems creepier. So
Konami's back apparently.
Yeah, I'm down with it. I'm down with Konami being back. This is good. This is all all a great thing. Ghost of Yote, like I mentioned before, fantastic game from Sucker Punch, one of my absolute favorite developers, is back. I loved Ghost of Tsushima, so it's great that they're still kicking that out. Hades 2, fantastic game. Playing that on Switch 2. I'm still playing Sea of Thieves, of course. And still playing games like Peak or Jump Space, Void Crew, like cooperative action games. That's one of the genres that I really like. So that, and I'm playing a lot of like little things too. And I want to get back to Donkey Kong Bonanza and do the Emerald Rush stuff. I finished the game, but I want to go back and do more, get more bananas and stuff. So need to do that. There's just so many games.
I've heard about Ball X Pit, or is it Ball Cross Pit? That's on Game Pass. That's supposed to be amazing. So many little games, horror games. I always want to try to play it. So I'm going to be playing Chronos. That's coming. I'm getting that. And then obviously, and if you're into these live service games, they always do Halloween themed events. And it's like, oh, it looks really cool. What's happening in Fortnite? I didn't ever play Fortnite, but it looks really fun. I mean,
I just bought
something spooky, doesn't it?
I just bought the Jason Voorhees skin to use in Fortnite. I barely play Fortnite anymore, but it is a fun game to just kind of zone out to. So I'm right there with you. I love seasonal stuff. It's great.
Fantastic. Well, this was a pleasure, CJ. I had such a fun time just hearing more about your past. I hope people were informed, got a little gaming history along the way, and maybe found some games that they look into from the past. And then maybe the Odyssey 2 becomes a retro hit and they bring it back, like Commodore 64 and all of
that.
those.
That is not happening.
I was also the kid owned a Commodore 128 for some reason because I thought it was cool, but I did play Commodore 64 games, but there were no Commodore 128 games. I didn't even try.
I see. Okay.
Yes.
Commodore 64, though, a lot more popular than the Odyssey 2.
I mean, it was like in the Amiga was the better computer, but just did not peak when IBM PCs were coming out and you could play King's Quest on that. Make your choices. Well, CJ, thank you so much for joining us. And before you leave, tell people everything about what you're putting out there, where they can find you, and how they can support all the awesome things you do.
Sure. Well, I'm on social media. I'm on Blue Sky. My handle is SuperPac. That's SUPERPAC. Referring to like Pac-Man, Super Pac-Man.
Oh, I thought that's like Super PAC sounds like a very political organization.
I know. I had the name. I had the handle before they did, though. It's been my handle since like 1994.
Wow.
So, but I'm Super PAC on all the socials and all the console networks and everything. The Player One podcast, you can find at playeronepodcast.com and listen to that, or we're on YouTube and Patreon and all that, same kind of thing. YouTube.com/P1podcast or Patreon.com/P1podcast. And then work at Enhance, as we talked about. They make amazing games like Tetris Effect Connected, Rez Infinite, and Lumines Arise, which comes out in November. Please check it out. There's a demo. I think people will like it. If you like Tetris Effect, I think you'll really love it. Go to lumines.game for information about that one. And I think that's it.
Well, if you have PS Plus and you might have picked up Humanity when it was there, that was a great game to try. It's like Lemmings with very unique attributes, and Echochrome, or what was the other game too, and some of the weird areas. So it gives me like, I get so nervous when I do that. I'm like, oh no, they're all dying. Oh my God. But it's an amazing game as well. And that's also flat and VR. So the cool part about this is if you don't have VR, still check out the games because it's still an amazing experience.
Yeah. I think that's it, though. I think that's everywhere you're going to find it.
Hey, you've got a lot on your plate, plus 18 games to play. So
I know, my gosh,
you're staying afloat, and that's what matters. Well, folks, if you like this podcast, would like to be a guest, you can follow me and well, the Fandom Foundry on Blue Sky and Instagram, but Instagram has little dots between for some reason. Our website, thefandomfoundry.com. We have a Discord for people just talking about the stuff they love, sharing things they make. It's really fun. Then we are also, we have the website's a great place to look for what we've got coming out with podcasts, and our video is there as well. So, check out our YouTube, subscribe, and you know what? I'd love it if you did rate us on podcast services around the globe. We've got fantasy football, this podcast, and also the best thing this week. So thank you all. And just remember, folks, why do we play? Because it's fun. Bye.